Okay. Make it happen.
HPPodcraft.com. On a verdant slope of Mount Mayanellis in Arcadia, there stands an olive grove about the ruins of a villa. Close by is a tomb, once beautiful with the sublimest sculptures, but now fallen into as great decay as the house. At one end of that tomb, its curious roots displacing the time-stained blocks of Panhellenic marble, grows an unnaturally large olive tree of oddly repellent shape. So like to some grotesque man, or death-distorted body of a man, that the country folk fear to pass it at night when the moon shines faintly through the crooked boughs. Mount Mayanellis is a chosen haunt of dreaded Pan, whose queer companions are many, and simple swains believe that the tree must have some hideous kinship to these weird Panacea. But an old beekeeper who lives in the neighboring cottage told me a different story.
Well, you know you're in for a good story when the beekeeper is at the helm.
The beekeeper's going to lay it down for us.
I just imagined that all of his stories end with, of course, this was before they were all stung by bees.
I thought most of his stories would end with, so they ate a lot of honey.
Yeah, it's just good for his business.
Yeah, everything is like...
They were all satisfied by beekeeper brand honey. That was the opening paragraph of The Tree.
The Tree. One of the two stories that we are going to do in this episode of the H.P. Lovecraft Literary Podcast.
That's right. What's the other story that we're doing?
The other story is The Cats of Ulthar.
Oh, I can't wait. It's a double feather. Well,
you can't wait.
I can't wait because I'm Chad Pfeiffer.
Oh, and I can't wait because I'm Chris Lackey.
So that was and that was Heather Klinke reading the opening paragraph of The Tree.
A very creepy reading.
Yeah, very creepy. She is, if we haven't said it before, the voice of the show tag at the beginning and the end of each episode.
She does do that.
She does, and she's also my wife.
She's married to Chad.
That's right. So the beekeeper, the story that he tells in The Tree,
yes,
is about Kalos and Musides.
Kalos and Musides are both awesome sculptors.
That's right.
The best sculptors the world has ever known.
Yeah,
supposedly.
And back when they were around, this hillside villa that's described in the beginning, it wasn't all broken down. It was this nice, resplendent.
It was beautiful.
Really cool place.
Lovely
to
place.
Out. So Kalos and Musides, the best sculptors in the world. The cool thing about those guys is that they're best friends.
Yeah, they weren't competitive at all. They were just totally into each other. And I mean, they were different.
Yeah.
They were different guys.
They were different guys. Well, they had different approaches to their art.
Right, exactly. Musides, he would kind of go into the city and like to drink and party, have a good time.
That's how he gets his inspiration, by rocking it.
He loves to rock and be with the people and get the passion.
Yeah, exactly.
Where Kalos, on the other hand, goes off out into the woods.
Yeah, he stays at home.
And he'll frolic. Well, I don't know if he frolics, but he meditates.
He meditates out in the olive grove.
On the olive grove, because he's kind of in touch with Pan, the god.
Right. To me, it seems pretty obvious that Kalos is Lovecraft.
Yeah,
basically, who stays at home and meditates, and he for his art he gets inspiration.
Yeah.
Whereas Musides is worldly, and he gets experience, and then that's what he brings back home to his art. In a way, it almost reminds me of like a serial killer cop movie. Where because like Musides is like the rookie who likes to go out on the town and party, and he gets info from his CIs out there, and then like Kalos is the old vet who goes to the library, and does the research. He looks through lots of books with like wood carvings in them and stuff, and then
is that kind of like the cop buddy movie with Steven Seagal where he was like the Buddhist, and then
that's in a ton of cop movies.
What was the other one?
I was thinking more like Seven, but that's. You prove my point. It's like I think that the modern the cop movie between the rookie and the old vet, that relationship really comes from Kalos and Musides.
I find that theory exciting, Chad, but I would like a little bit more evidence to support it. But instead of these guys busting crimes, they
were busting stone.
They're busting stone
into beautiful shapes.
So famous were Kalos and Musides that none wondered when the tyrant of Syracuse sent to them deputies to speak of the costly statue of Tyche which he had planned for his city.
It's so cool, man, because why are the people of Syracuse being led by somebody who's just saying he's the tyrant?
Yeah, I know. I would think if I was in charge, I would want, people say I'm benevolent leader, or something like that.
But the benevolent leader, exactly.
But he's in a tyrant.
He's like, I am the tyrant of Syracuse. Don't expect much more out of me than that. I was honest in my campaign.
And Tyche is the god of kind of a city's like luck for the city. Like, you know, if you want your city to be prosperous, this god is the god that'll help you out.
And the tyrant wants a statue of Tyche to put up in his city in Syracuse, and he wants that statue to be the best, the most beautiful. And so he comes to Kalos and Musides and says, you know, both of you guys give it a shot, and we'll pick the best one, and that'll be our Statue of Liberty, so to speak. And you know, the tyrant, he knows about their friendship, so he knows that it's going to be even more incredible because they'll help each other out.
Yeah, because he's going, you know, if these guys will like work together on and you know have both the same projects, then they'll kind of collaborate in a way. Like, you know, goes, hey, you know, I'm having a little trouble with this part. What do you think? And, you know, they'll share knowledge with each other. And supposedly, his theory is that it's going to be the best sculpture ever made.
It's top sculptor. Lovecraft doing the reality show.
Make it work.
Yeah, totally. Kalos is like, look, man, I love Musides. I do. I love that guy. But I'm doing this for my baby. I will destroy him. But anyway, they start. So he's right. They start working like crazy.
Right.
And they're helping each other out. Musides goes out and parties, and Kalos goes into the grove and he kind of meditates.
But Kalos starts to kind of getting a little sickly and feeling a little under the weather. And things aren't working out for him.
Well, what happened? Well, Musides first, people notice, because Kalos is always sequestered away, so people don't necessarily know he's sick. It's Musides who's getting more and more depressed. You know, he's doing fewer rails when he's out partying. He's rock and rolling every night, but he's only partying every other day. And people are wondering what's up, so he finally admits, he goes, look, Kalos is sick.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah, and it's bumming me out because he's my BFF.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that Kalos looks almost kind of serene, like he's kind of okay with being sick.
Yeah, he's okay with it. And when he's talking to him, he's, you know, I think I'm gonna, like, he knows he's gonna die. Like he realizes his illness is that bad, and he tells Musides, you know, when I die, just, you know, I want an olive tree, like planted over me, right? That's what he says, an olive tree, and you know, don't do anything crazy. Just give me an olive tree.
Well, Musides, he says, you know, when you die, man, I'm going to build this sepulcher that's going to be amazing. It's
going to be awesome. I'm going to sculpt the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And
that's right. That's textually supported. That's what he says.
That's exactly what he says. I'm not paraphrasing at all. But Kalos is like, no way, man, just the olive tree.
Just the olive tree.
That's what I want. That's my wish. Yeah. That's my final wish.
Which probably drives Musides crazy because earlier, you know, he says he's kind of upset. Like he's neither of them are sculpting Tyche right now. They're both like Kalos is ill and Musides is treating him, or he's being his sort of nursemaid. And then Kalos will say, hey, tell you what, can you just leave me alone? I want to be out here in my olive grove. And Musides takes it personally. He's like, I can't believe he wants to spend more time with the trees than with me. I'm his best friend.
He gets really annoyed by it.
But anyway, finally, sadly, Kalos dies.
Yeah, he dies.
Yeah. And Musides...
He's bummed out. He's totally grief-stricken and just mopes around, and everything's, you know, he's a sad guy.
And he honors Kalos' wishes, which are to plant some olive branches at his grave.
Right.
But perhaps even a little selfishly, he also honors his own wishes, which is to sculpt this massive sepulcher for Kalos. So he does both. He plants the branches and he builds the mausoleum.
Yeah, and he also finally gets to work on the Tyche statue.
That's right, and maybe that's how he kind of deals with his grief.
Yeah,
he starts working on that sculpture, and for about 3 years.
Yeah, it takes a long time. And during that time, over the sepulcher, a tree grows, and it doesn't just grow at a normal rate. An olive tree grows extraordinarily quickly, like right out of the sepulcher.
Yeah, and it's an odd-looking tree. It's got almost a human aspect to it. It's very strange.
Very creepy.
And as Musides is working on the sculpture, actually one branch grows out from the olive tree and kind of hangs over his studio where he's working ominously. And you know, Musides is happier because he's working, but he does like having company. He doesn't like being alone because it says...
the bleak mountain wind sighing through the olive grove and the tomb tree had an uncanny way of forming vaguely articulate sounds.
Yeah.
So he's just spooked out, working anymore.
But the people still come by and they see that he's doing good work, and all the townsfolk are pretty excited about this and about the statue. And they're like, hey, man, if this statue is going to rock so hard that Taiki is going to give us some sweet blessings,
Right,
and
yeah.
everything's going to be great.
They're super excited, so the time comes and the Syracusans send out their emissaries to go, pick up the statue, basically. And they get there, and that night, the night before they're going to pick it up, there's one of those big storms that happens in romantic literature.
Yeah.
The
Lots of rain, lots of wind.
Yeah.
People start freaking out. They start praying to the wind god.
Yes, exactly. Do they?
Yeah, they do, yeah. Because that's what you do when it gets like that. You pray to whatever god, very specific god.
Yeah, exactly.
You spill some milk, you pray to the spilled milk god.
It was so much easier in ancient Greece.
Yeah.
To get what you needed. Well, anyway, so they weather that night with the storm going on, and the villagers tell these messengers, what's going on between the two sculptors. So they're kind of caught up on the story. And, in the morning, something crazy has happened.
Slaves' cries ascended from a scene of desolation, and no more amidst the olive grove rose the gleaming colonnades of that vast hall where Mucides had dreamed and toiled. Lone and shaken mourned the humble courts and the lower walls, for upon this sumptuous greater peristyle had fallen squarely the heavy, overhanging bough of the strange new tree, reducing the stately poem in marble with odd completeness to a mound of unsightly ruins. Strangers and Aegeans stood aghast, looking from the wreckage to the great, sinister tree, whose aspect was so weirdly human and whose roots reached so queerly into the sculptured sepulchre of Kalos. And their fear and dismay increased when they searched the fallen apartment. For of the gentle Mucides, and of the marvelously fashioned image of Taiki, no trace could be discovered.
So, Mucides has disappeared.
And the statue of Taiki gone.
Just gone. I imagine that the statue would be enormous, so I don't know what he did with it. Or if it just vanished, or...
I assumed it was some kind of supernatural take. What I like to think is that the statue came to life and scooped him up, and then they ran off into the woods together. What?
That's awesome. That is going to be my interpretation of the story as well.
It's not in the text anywhere, but that's just what I like to think.
Well, all right. Well, all we know is that this is how the villa in the beginning of the story became the ruin that it is. The tree branch from the grave crushed the villa.
Yep.
And Mucides disappears. And of course, the Syracusans are a little disappointed because they showed up expecting this awesome statue.
Right.
But then the story says they went and they got another statue from Athens. And, it was okay, but at least they didn't have to deal with any crazy artists,
Yeah.
So that, and then the last paragraph of the story says,
But the olive grove still stands, as does the tree growing out of the tomb of Kalos. And the old beekeeper told me that sometimes the boughs whisper to one another in the night wind, saying over and over again, Oida, Oida. I know.
I know honey is delicious. And you should buy some.
So buy beekeeper brand honey. Did you look up Oida? What is it? I looked it up. It says it's a Greek word full and perfect knowledge of something.
I think it means I know.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, but I think that it's a little, I mean, that's the translation, but it means,
right, yes.
It's used in the Bible a few times. I think it means like full and perfect knowledge of something. Even with that definition, I don't know exactly what its meaning is.
And that's the end of the story.
Yeah, that is the end of the story.
Yeah, we jumped on that. So I'm pretty confused. I didn't like the story.
Well, let me lay out what I thought it meant, because I think you said something before we started recording here that kind of freaked me out because I didn't understand it. When I read this, I assumed that it was a sort of almost moralistic thing. It's almost a statement of Lovecraft's artistic aesthetic in that he gets, as we've talked about in these past stories, he gets most of his inspiration from dreams. And, it's almost divine. It comes from nature. We know that when he was a kid, he built these little temples to Pan and that sort of thing. So he gets his inspiration from nature and from being alone and in solitude and drawing on his dreams.
Right.
And maybe in this story, it seems like that methodology the spiritualism triumphs over the worldliness of Mucides, who had to build this awesome sepulchre for him. That's what I took away from it.
Right. And honestly, when I read it too, so did I.
Okay.
But when I did a little background reading in defense of Dagon, and H.P. Lovecraft wrote that kind of essay, and in it he talks about this story specifically, and says that Musides poisoned Kalos. Like, he had him out there and was poisoning him.
I didn't get that from the story at all.
No, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, now looking at it, the whole story, it's like a revenge.
Yeah, now it becomes clear that it's a revenge tale.
But that's not clear at all in the story itself.
No,
not one bit.
In fact, it's almost as if Musides' plan, which clearly was to poison Kalos while pretending to be his best friend, worked on the reader, because I just assumed he really was his best friend.
Right.
I don't get that at all.
It didn't come across, and if that's true, maybe I misread. I read that in Lovecraft's Encyclopedia that Joshi wrote. Maybe I misunderstood what I read in there, but it seems pretty clear.
Well, if that's that actually is kind of an interesting story.
Yeah.
You know,
that makes it a little bit more interesting. But if that's what was going on, that was really poorly.
Because then it's almost like maybe it's a Mozart Salieri relationship or something like that. Like he hates him because he's better, and maybe I don't know. That's a much cooler idea. Maybe Kalos or Musides rather has some problems because he's gambling or he's out there. Or he doesn't have his muse anymore. You know.
No, I don't know. It doesn't make it does it was poorly communicated. Oh, and just for another side note, is Kalos means handsome or fair in Greek, and Musides is the son of the Muses.
Son of the Muses.
Neither of which are actual real names. Nobody's ever been named that. That's something that Lovecraft took from from the words, Greek words, and then named them those things. Like
I thought Kalos was the guy's name in God of War.
That's
Kratos.
That's Kratos.
Okay.
That's Kratos. Sorry, big difference. And the story was written really quickly. The story was written in 1920 and first published in the Tryout in October of 1921.
Okay.
So it kind of sat around for over a year. But other than that,
I gotta say I wasn't a huge fan of it. I wish I'd known about the poisoning. It might have made it more interesting.
Yeah.
But
I'm really disappointed to say that Lovecraft did not communicate that. It's not in the story. Even going back, it wasn't even hinted at, in my opinion.
Yeah. Or we're just kind of dense readers. I don't know.
It could be.
Now let's move on to the next revenge tale, which is a very clear tale.
Yeah, this is definitely a revenge tale.
Yeah, and it's very salient. I wasn't confused by this at all.
No, and I really like this revenge tale, The Cats of Ulthar.
It is said that in Ulthar, which lies beyond the river sky, no man may kill a cat. And this I can verily believe as I gaze upon him who sitteth purring before the fire. For the cat is cryptic, and close to strange things which men cannot see.
Clearly, HP's a cat lover.
He loves the cats.
Yeah.
There's a little story or essay, I should say, that he writes a few years later in 26, I think, called Cats and Dogs. He loves cats.
Loves
cats. Is crazy into them.
And, I think anybody that has cats or likes cats, they do appear to have their own lives. They appear to be highly intelligent. They appear to be very spiritual.
And
personally, I think it's just they just work a little differently than primates, and so we try to put our logic on what they're doing, and that's why they seem so mysterious,
because they just work on really different. I've had cats when I was growing up. I don't have any cats now in my adulthood, but they're I liked some cats and some cats I don't. There's, they got little personalities.
There's a lot of writers that seem to be pretty close with their cats, and I can understand that because they are great to have around when you're working. They provide company, but they don't really interfere, and they're not very needy.
No, they don't. You don't need your attention too much. Not like a dog or anything like that.
But this is less about Lovecraft's affection for cats, and it's more about this ancient tale of Ulthar.
Yeah.
In Ulthar, before ever the Burgesses forbade the killing of cats, there dwelt an old cotter and his wife, who delighted to trap and slay the cats of their neighbors. Why they did this, I know not, save that many hate the voice of the cat in the night, and take it ill that cats should run stealthily about yards and gardens at twilight. But whatever the reason, this old man and woman took pleasure in trapping and slaying every cat which came near to their hovel. And from some of the sounds heard after dark, many villagers fancied that the manner of slaying was exceedingly peculiar.
So there's some jerks.
Yeah, it's an old couple.
Yeah, and they just hate cats. And
they hate cats so much that they set up little traps.
Yeah,
and they kill the cats. They kill any cats that come into their yard, basically.
People in Ulthar are just too scared of these people.
Yeah, because they're kind of creepy and kind of weird, and they're just, you know what? We're not going to mess with them. We're not going to even bring up the whole cat thing, just because we don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, the habitual expression on the old people's faces scares them.
Yeah. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, I guess there are people like that in your town sometimes where you start to approach the house, and maybe the smell that's coming out of it just makes you go, you know what? I don't even want to get up in their business. Or there's newspaper on the windows, or something that I don't want to investigate.
Yeah.
I loved Fluffy, but it's not worth it.
Just let it go.
But then a caravan of wanderers from the south shows up.
Yeah, and this caravan, the way that they're described, they sound kind of Egyptian.
Yeah.
They've got, they talk about how they have lots of, paintings on the side of their wagons and things that have human bodies but animal heads. That they also have kind of horned with like a disc in the center of it, which is very common.
Yeah, the leader of the caravan had it. Well, yeah, I was wondering about that actually. So he had a headdress with 2 horns and a curious disc between the horns. That's a pretty common Egyptian thing.
Yeah, I think it's Ra. I'm totally guessing here, but I've seen it in hieroglyphs, where they have other things. So
cool. Well, definitely, we know the Egyptians had those gods with cat heads,
and hawk heads, and gerbil heads, and
well, there's a kid there's one kid that's got a little black cat.
Yeah, and the kid, his parents died because of the plague, and he survived, and this cat has kind of been his comfort, from losing his parents and stuff.
The plague had not been kind to him, yet had left him this small, furry thing to mitigate his sorrow. And when one is very young, one can find great relief in the lively antics of a black kitten.
I got a little emotionally invested at that point because I have 2 black cats.
You have 2 black cats.
I did get them both, actually, in a kind of emotional period of my life, and they really were good to me. It is nice to have some pets to keep you company when you're going through some trouble. So I'm on this kid's side.
Yeah, you're with them.
Yeah.
Well, one day, check it out. Cat's missing. Where did the cat go?
I didn't read that far into the story. Just break down.
I wish that was true. What?
Yeah, it sucks though, man. The kitten comes up missing.
Yep.
And the kid's just bawling his eyes out and running around the market. And, and then some of the people in the town, they say, well, you should know. There's this...
Right by where you are, there's these people, this old couple, this codger and his wife, and they freaking hate cats, and they kill him. Yeah. So the kid calms down and then gets real, serious.
Yeah.
Sarah
McLachlan music starts playing. You see images of hurt cats and hurt dogs. That's just what I imagined.
I didn't imagine that.
No,
mine was much more sinister.
Yeah, tell me about that, because I like
mine's more like kind of Carmen Miranda. No, that's not it. My brain just dot 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 dot.
Oh, right. Carmina Burana.
Carmina Burana, thank you. God damn, it was...
For a split second, though, I was imagining Carmen Burana with her fruit hat dancing around.
Boom chicka, boom chicka.
Right. Well, he's...
that music's playing,
Carmina
and the
Burana
kid
starts playing.
Yeah, and the music, his eyes, pupils dilate, and he just gets real serious, and he goes over, and he begins, chanting in this unknown language.
And the clouds up in the sky change.
Yeah,
Even to take on the aspect of these Egyptian gods with the cat heads.
Yeah. So all this stuff happens, and then the kid gets done with it, and then all, the Egyptian, the travelers, the dark.
Yeah, well, then the night passes.
Yeah.
And when the morning comes...
they're gone. Don't they beat it. Yeah, they beat it. And also, all the cats are gone. And so everybody starts, thinking, oh, it's those dark travelers. They're the ones that made they took the cats.
Right. They said maybe as revenge for that kitten coming up missing, they just gathered up all the cats and took off.
Yep. And
but one kid saw them, though he's saying, actually, I don't think that's what happened because, this was Little Ulthar, the innkeeper's son,
vowed that he had at twilight seen all the cats of Ulthar in that accursed yard under the trees, pacing very slowly and solemnly in a circle around the cottage, 2 abreast, as if in performance of some unheard of rite of beasts.
Ooh, neat.
Yeah.
But of course nobody believes the kid.
Well, they don't believe him, but also they're just these are the lamest villagers ever. They're so scared of that couple, they just don't, the cats go up missing and everything. They could just at least go check out his story or something.
Yeah, no.
But they go, that kid's just crazy, and we're not going to worry about the fact that all of our cats are gone. Let's go to bed.
Yeah. I mean, cats aren't really crucial to society funcking. You know what I mean?
True.
So, and if it's a primitive place, they've got crops to tend and animals and livestock.
But I would never want to live in Ulthar. They're too apathetic. They don't have police, clearly. Don't they have a couple of guys they could just send over to knock on the door?
Just see what's up.
Yeah.
Well,
no social support at all. There.
None whatsoever. And then, so the cats, are gone. People kind of go about their business.
They hit the hay.
They hit the hay. Wake up in the morning. Cats are back.
Yeah, cats are all back.
And they're all doing their thing. They're hanging out. But strange.
Yeah.
They're not eating.
Yeah, they're not very hungry.
Not very hungry. They put out bowls of food. The cats check it out and like,
whatever.
And again, they try and blame this on the people.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they're like, they must have done something to our cats.
Yeah.
The kid, I think it's Ulthar again, speaks up and is like, no, something fishy's going on. Like, I think somebody should go really check out those, those people.
Yeah, because
it was fully a week before the villagers noticed that no lights were appearing at dusk in the windows of the cottage under the trees.
They finally get themselves together enough to have a couple people go check it out.
In another week, the burgomaster decided to overcome his fears and call at the strangely silent dwelling as a matter of duty. Though in so doing, he was careful to take with him Shang the blacksmith and Thol the cutter of stone as witnesses.
So basically they sent the Three Stooges to go check out this house. Shang, Thol, and Curly.
Oh, what? Curly?
I was also partial to Shang, Thol, and Shemp myself. I hate the ones with Shang, Thol, and Curly Joe. So lame. Well, so those guys go out there.
And when they had broken down the frail door, they found only this. 2 cleanly picked human skeletons on the earthen floor, and a number of singular beetles crawling in the shadowy corners.
Ah!
Nice.
Those cats flipping ate those people.
Ate them.
They ate them. That's crazy. So the kid basically used some ancient dark wandering magic and commanded the cats to eat them. For, some revenge.
And because of that, they passed a law in Ulthar that they should not. No cat can be killed there.
No man
may kill a cat.
May kill a cat. So maybe a woman will.
Yeah. The end actually reminded me of Plan 9 from Outer Space. Because at the end,
way?
Well, because they find the 2 skeletons picked clean on the floor.
Oh,
but
right.
There's that part in the end when Bela Lugosi, or the vampire character, he gets hit with the solanite bomb or an atomic ray or something,
right.
And they find him in the backyard of the house, and they pull his cape aside, and it's just his skeleton in there.
Yeah.
So that means that whatever ray hit him, it will dissolve organic material, but not cloth.
Not cloth.
So he's been naked under that cape for the whole movie.
Naked the whole time.
That's one of my favorite things about Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yes, I do remember that.
Well, anyway,
now this story I liked a lot.
I liked it. Yeah, it's just a cool little revenge story.
Yeah,
be mean to animals, and then the animals get their revenge.
There you go.
So I was wrong. The kid does have a name.
The kid does have a name. It's Menes.
Menes. Okay. What does that mean?
Menes was the name of the first pharaoh. Of the first dynasty. He was
Oh,
the founder
really?
of the first dynasty. Yeah, of Egypt.
Oh, that's a cool little.
So another nod to them being like of Egyptian descent,
or maybe he becomes this pharaoh.
Or eventually he could become the pharaoh, because
Yeah.
this is ancient times.
Yeah.
Yeah, so who knows?
So this could be a little backstory on that pharaoh, which is neat.
Well, also, too, this is another thing. Maybe they were gypsies? Because
I thought about that,
A
too.
lot of people thought that, gypsy was short for Egyptian. Like, nobody knows really where the gypsies come from. Some think that they were of Indian descent and they were just kind of nomadic travelers and stuff like that. But the word gypsy is just the short abbreviation of Egyptians.
I guess I never really put that together before.
Yeah, so because a lot of people thought they were maybe Egyptian, but
Well, when I think of gypsy, I think of Eastern European.
right,
Roma.
Roma, yeah. Well, I mean that's what it means. And the Roma have a very long, rich history but nobody really knows. They think they came from somewhere in India originally,
Yeah.
but they slowly moved through the Middle East and up into Eastern Europe. And another of the characters in here, Atoll, the innkeeper's son, appears in later Lovecraft stories as an adult and an old man.
No way.
He's in The Other Gods, and he shows up in the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath.
No way. Oh, I
Yes.
love that. That's so cool.
So, and he's an old man. He's like 300 years in the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. But we'll talk about that when we get to that story. But this story was written on June 15th of 1920.
Okay.
And it was published in November of 1920 in the amateur journal Tryout. And supposedly people tie this into the dream cycle stuff.
Are
but
both of these dream cycle stories or considered that? Or?
The tree, no. The tree's people kind of attribute it to the Dunsany stuff. He didn't write the story because his buddy Galpin, this is one of his letters, Galpin had written a story called Marsh Mad, which had a tree that was kind of a living person thing sort of there. And he was like, oh, my idea is too close to his idea, so I'm going to just kind of forget it. And then he decided to write it anyway years later because he, I guess, felt time passed and it was, there was room for another tree. Tree
sure.
Story,
Absolutely.
So I guess that was what was going on there.
It's time again these days, I think.
Yeah, we need another living
We need
tree
a good
story.
tree story at the multiplex. Balance out the current offerings. Ugh.
But I like that story. It's pretty straightforward, the cat story, and
it's pretty straightforward.
I do like the really creepy aspect of where the cats are gone, then they come back, but they don't
eat
for a few days because they just are full of human
Such
flesh.
a better way to illustrate that than to show the cat attack, which would inevitably be just sort of lame.
Yeah. Or a bunch of cats like swarming and stuff. Yeah.
It still would be fun.
Still
It'd still be laughable.
It still would be lame. Oh, God. This reminds me of the story, The Repair of Reputations, the Robert Chambers story. Do you remember that one?
Oh, I'm glad you said that because we haven't brought up Robert Chambers.
Oh, no,
yet. Robert Chambers was an author writing in the 1890s who influenced Lovecraft heavily, and there's a collection of his stories called The King in Yellow.
The King in Yellow, yeah.
And a couple of them Lovecraft borrowed from.
Yeah.
Borrowed references from. And The Repair of Reputations was a sort of science fiction story almost.
Yeah, it was in the future. 1921, I think, was the future year because the story was written in the 1890s.
And if I catch a reference, I think there's a guy in there who stays in a room with a cat, and the cat's attacking him constantly.
He is the Repair of Reputations.
Right.
When people have problems, they come and talk to this guy.
Yeah.
And you never see the cat, but the guy's got scratch marks all over him, and he hates this cat, and he's always trying to kill this cat, but you never see the cat, you never hear the cat.
Yeah, and it makes it just so unsettling in a way that he's just got this ongoing battle with the animal.
With this animal that you never see. So it's like, maybe he's doing it to himself, maybe he's like scratching. You don't know. It's a really creepy story, and I think he gets more messed up as the story continues. Like, when the guy shows up to talk to him again, he's like missing an eye, like the cat poked out one of his eyes when he sleeps, the cat attacks him and stuff.
I'm so glad you brought that up. At some point in the future, we really should just take an episode and talk about The King in Yellow.
Oh, yeah, that's some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And it definitely is a precursor to Lovecraft, and in that vein. And really
I would highly recommend. And it used to be harder to find The King in Yellow, that collection, but
it did. Yeah,
I think that it's fairly easy to get now. But I remember I had to special order it back when I was a teenager and was interested in it. Yeah. I had to find it in some weird libraries. It was difficult to get a hold of.
Yeah, you can find it now on, I think, Amazon sells it.
I think the problem with Robert Chambers is actually he was a really popular author in his time. He was a painter who turned to writing. And he wrote a lot of, I guess, what people considered shop girl novels. So they were sort of petty kind of almost soap operatic books. And, they flooded the market with them because they were so popular. But because they were so popular, nobody really thought to preserve this stuff. So a lot of it just went away. It just went into the bargain bin with the, Too Much Joy albums and the Hanson albums. I don't know why I said Too Much Joy. They were a pretty popular band, aren't they? But you know what I mean anyway.
Yeah, I did know what you mean.
They eventually disappeared.
Well, I think that wraps up our two stories, The Tree and the Cats of Ulthar.
What do we got next week?
Next week we are doing The Temple.
The Temple.
Is that right?
Yes, we are.
The Temple, which is pretty cool.
I'm
pretty into this story.
I like that. It's got a nice wartime setting and
World War One.
World War,
because
the Great War, and lots of good sub-oceanic.
There's a couple things I just wanted to mention. If listeners would, please go to iTunes and give us a rating, and if you like our show enough, give us a review. Write some nice, kind words about the show and tell people why they should listen to it. Well, with that, I am Chris Lackey.
I'm Chad Pfeiffer, and thanks again to Heather. That was a great job.
Good job, Heather.
I'll see you when I get home.
This has been the H.P. Lovecraft Literary Podcast.
hppodcraft.com.
hppodcraft.com.